While we are hoping to hear a yes after a presentation, sometimes we hear a no. But how many times do you hear, think it over? Think about the last 10 sales opportunities that you've had in your pipeline where you didn't get a yes. How many of them are still in the pipeline because you are hoping for a yes while they think it over and get back to you? Now ask yourself, what percentage of the time when you allow think it over or TIO do you actually get the business? My guess is that if you're like the rest of us, the number is pretty small. So let's stop kidding ourselves about the strength of our pipeline and quit accepting think it over as an answer. Since we agree that TIO is not the most effective sales strategy for closing more business, let's look at some of the symptoms. You may not identify with all of these, but it only takes one to derail your sales effectiveness. Do you keep going on appointments with prospects that don't have a compelling issue? Are you answering more questions than you are asking questions? Are you completing a pre-call plan for every sales call with questions that you will ask and curveballs that you expect? Are you too trusting of prospects and what they say? Are you doing most of the talking on your sales calls? Are you talking too much about products and not enough about problems? And lastly, are you asking for a prospect's commitment to a yes or no answer before you come back, present your solution, and answer all of their questions? Eliminating think it over is easier than you think. But first, let's agree that it's our fault. We allow it to happen. But I often find that the reason that salespeople accept think it over is because they don't know how to reject it. Most are uncomfortable with challenging or pushing back on a prospect because they think it will hurt their chances of winning the business. But I would ask you to consider this, that allowing stalls and delays as a result of the buyer's need to think it over is leading to more lost business in the long run. So, how do you handle it? Seek to learn more about why they need to think it through so you can address the root cause of the issue. If a prospect tells me that they wish to take time to consider before buying, I'll typically respond this way. I understand. This is a big decision, and you need to make sure that it's the right one. Can I ask you something before we move on, though? When someone tells me that they need to think it over, it's usually for one of two reasons. One, they have questions or concerns that I haven't addressed yet, either regarding the product, the people involved, or the price. If that's the case, I want to make sure that we get those things answered for you so that you can make the right decision for you and or your business. Or two, it might be the easiest way that you have to tell me no. It might not be the case here, but for some, it might just be the most comfortable way to tell me that you're not interested. I'm fine with either of those answers, but out of respect for your process and time, as well as for my own, I'm curious which is it for you. Once you learn more about their real concerns, drill down. Continue to ask questions until you get to the root cause of the delay. If you can't address the concerns and they ultimately can't find a way to commit, you may need to consider hitting the pause button on this conversation until the prospect is more ready to take action. I remind people all the time, you are not a quote jockey. You are not a resource center. Your job is to learn about people's problems, identify if you can fix them, and then ask the question, do you need my help? An approach like this needs to be delivered in the right tone and said with understanding and empathy, certainly. But it's a great example of how we appropriately challenge a prospect when we need to stay firm in our sales process.